my name's Andy Hillier, and today's guitar lesson is going to be on Pride and Joy by Stevie Ray Vaughan. Wicked intro. I'm just going to teach you the intro to it. It's really cool. It's normally in E flat tuning, like all down a semitone. I'm going to teach you it in standard tuning. I'm going to teach you that, but just before I do, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my channel, which is Andy Hillier, give me a like on the video, press that notification bell, leave me some comments in the comment section, let me know what songs I should do next. And if you love what I'm doing, you want to support me, support the channel, keep me doing this, and you want the tabs for this and loads of other songs, then you can support me on my Patreon page. A link to that is in the description. My guitar is in standard tuning. On the original, it's in E flat, so you tune down all the semitone, but I've decided to do it in standard tuning for you. Okay, so the first line goes like this. Okay, so to play that, we're going to slide into B5 at the same time as hitting the E string nearest to the floor. And it starts on beat 1 and, so there's a little quaver rest at the beginning there. And then it goes, so we're doing that with an upstroke, and then goes down, up, down, up, down. So go up, down, up, down, up, down. So a little slide into the first note, and really swing it hard. And then on the last hit of that bar 1, you're just going to hit an upstroke, and it just hits the open strings. So, okay, so slowly, up speed. Bar 2, we've got where we're playing E7 with the first finger and B8 with the second finger, and we're slightly bending it out of tune, the B8. And we're going to play those two strings, the E7 and the B8, 7 times. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then the last hit you do an upstroke on just the open strings. Okay, so the first 2 bars go. Or slowly. Into bar 3, similar to bar number 1, sliding up into B5, we've got a whole bar of it, so 8 of them, and then 1 extra hit in the next bar, so it goes, and it slides off of that, and a little upstroke with the open strings, and then we're going to do G2, bend up, and then play it when it's up and drop it down. So then the open G, D2, and then upstroke on the E, B and G strings. So bar 4 slowly goes. Okay, so the whole line slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And up speed for 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, on to the next line, and we've got this. So to play this classic riff, right? First finger on A2. We're going to do a downstroke and hit the E string and the A2. We'll then do an upstroke on just the E, B and G strings. It just hits those and make it really staccato, like shorten it out. So we then play the tricky bit, right? We're going to play our second finger on E3. We play E3 and then hammer on to fret 4 at the same time as playing the E, B and the G strings with an upstroke. Okay, so you're going to have to practice that. Play the E3, and at the same time you hammer on, you're going to hit the E, B and G strings. So that might take a bit of practice. So slowly you got from the beginning of the line. We then play A2 with the first finger, then E, B and G strings with an upstroke, and then A4, and then E, B and G with an upstroke. So bar number 5 slowly. Up speed. You've got to really swing it and make those E, B and G strings real nice and staccato. So really mute those off. So slowly that'll be. We then play D2, then E, B and G strings. Then we do that same hammer on from E3 to E4, and you play the E, B and G strings when you hammer on. Okay, then an A2. We then hit the E, B and G strings again. We then put a finger across fret 2 on the E, B and G strings. So bottom 3 strings. And we're going to hit that with a downstroke. And then we jump to an E chord at the end of bar number 6. So first finger on G1, second finger A2, third finger on D2. Now the weird thing, I've watched him playing it live. He plays that with a downstroke, and that's coming in on beat 4 and. So normally that would be an upstroke, and it does feel a little bit weird, but to play it just like he does, you've got to do that with a downstroke. It hits kind of E, A, D, maybe the G string. Okay. So let's play from the beginning of that line slowly. We've got. Bit faster. We then do an upstroke on the E, B and G, and then he does take his hand off, but you can leave it down on that. So either do 2 upstrokes without moving your hand, or move it on the second one. It makes not a lot of difference. We then do that same E3 to E4, hammering on and playing the E, B and G strings. Then A2, E, B and G, A4, E, B and G, D2, E, B and G. You get the idea, same idea. And then E4, hammers onto E4 with the E, B and G, then A2. So if we go from bar 7. And then E, B and G, then bottom 3 strings on fret 2, and then take them off for E, B and G at the end. So hopefully that does make sense. Let's try the whole line slowly. Here we go. Bit faster. Up speed. Okay, on to the next line, and we've got this. Okay, so for that, we basically, the first line, or the second line that we played was in E, now goes up to A, it's like 12 bar blues. So, similar idea, but we've gone down a string. So you play open A and D2, and then E, B and G strings with an upstroke. Then A3 hammers onto A4, and when you do the hammer on, you're hitting the E, B and G strings again. Then D2, E, B and G, D4, E, B and G. So bar number 9. Then down to G2, E, B and G. A3 hammers onto A4, hits the E, B and G. Then D2, E, B and G. And I think on this one he hits 4 strings on fret 2. So E, B, G and D strings on fret 2. And then an E chord like we did before with a downstroke on beat 4, which again feels weird. So the first 2 bars of that slowly. It then does an upstroke, and then another upstroke but without the fingers on. Or again, like I say before, you can play just 2 upstrokes with your first finger on G1. It then does the same as the previous line that we had. E3, hammers onto E4, does an upstroke, A2, upstroke, A3, upstroke, D2, upstroke, E3, hammers onto E4 at the same time as doing the upstroke, A2, the upstroke, and then it just changes on the end there. We've got, which is G2, slides to G4, and then plays B3. So I'm going to use my second finger to go from the G2 to the G4, and then my first finger on B3. Okay, so the whole of that line, here we go, slowly. Up speed. And the last line. So we've got the same slide that we did on the previous line. G2 slides to G4, B3 again, and then it does it for a third time because there's one on the previous line, right? So you're doing that 3 times, like I say, one of them was on the previous line. We then slide down to G2, but you don't really hear it. It's just like quick slide down to G2. Pull off to the G, and then D2. So you got, okay. Then plays the A string, then hammers onto A2, and then plays an A2. So it's, okay, so if we play that bar 11, slowly it goes. Let's put the G2 to G4 and B3 slide from the previous line in that, because that kind of works it together. So you got. The next bar we've got. So to play that, you play the D string, D1, D2, then the open D string, so then A2, A1, so from the beginning of that bar. You then play the open A string, and then a quick hammer on and pull off to A1. Okay, so you got. Then E3, A, E3, then D2. So that bar slowly. Then E and A2 at the same time. Upstroke on E, B and G. We then slide in to B3 with the second finger and G4 with the third finger. Or you could use first and second, whichever you prefer. And you slide into it, and then we're hitting it 6 times in total. So it's like 1. We then do a quick slide down to fret 2 on the G string. So then open G, and then D2. So that bar goes. Then the last bar goes, which is just E, E3, A, A1, A2. So the whole of that line slowly goes. And up speed. Okay, so let's try and put it all together then. Let's do it nice and slowly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. try it up to speed. Here we go. A 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you have it, that's the intro to Pride and Joy. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little video and found it useful. If you have, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my channel, which is Andy Hillier, give me a like on the video, press that notification bell, and I'd love to hear from you, so please leave me a comment in the comment section. I'd love to know where in the world you're watching this from, because I'm just making this video from my home in England, and you guys are all around the world, so let me know what country you come from, or just say hi, because it helps the video get some more views. And if you love what I'm doing, you want to support me, support the channel, keep me doing this, and you want the tabs for this, then I'll put them on my Patreon page. A link to that is in the description. Well, thanks for watching this. I do really appreciate it. I've been Andy Hillier, and I'll see you next time.